Narcissist. Again, we talk about it in my book. I'm going to say it again. Schooks, Crooks, Lies, and Scoundrels. A field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores.
This guy is a grifter.
The narcissist is the politician who believes that their own hype. They have this veneer of being untouchable and they're portraying a part, basically, when in actuality they are missing a lot about themselves. They have this shocking lack of self-awareness about them. And there are so many that we can talk about here. Just from the book, real quick, while the name probably gives it away, the political narcissist really is uncanny for how evident the characteristics are similar to narcissistic personality disorder. Listen to this. One of several types of personality disorders is a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. The intersection between a person with a personality disorder like that and a politician is freaking uncanny, bro.
Very, very true. Narcissism runs wild in politics. The late great Rush Limbaugh used to say politics was show business for ugly people.
True words were never spoken.
Kevin McCarthy, narcissist. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Kevin McCarthy, former Speaker of the House. What was he Speaker for? Like 12 days or something like that?
It was a couple of months.
Another California Republican. He was the textbook example of what I was so frustrated with the Republican Party about for so many years, that even when we win, like let's say we win a majority, we did this in the Senate not long ago, just a couple of weeks ago, we win a majority, and then we pick a leader who doesn't represent our base. The Democrats don't do that, right? They always pick a liberal. They don't pick a moderate Democrat to be the Speaker of the House or the minority leader or the Senate majority leader. They pick Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi. With us, we look for this guy who can reach across the aisle, and that was Kevin McCarthy, right? And Kevin McCarthy, because he was a wealthy man from California, believed that he should be Speaker. He believed it so much that when Matt Gaetz pulled those shenanigans and he wound up losing the speakership after a very short stint, I think it was the shortest stint in history, if I'm not mistaken, he resigned from Congress, almost cost us the majority overall, and then got a sweet gig on Fox News, running around planting stories that he was being considered to be chief of staff for the new Trump administration.
You're watching a united party like we haven't been in the past.
Is the party itself united, though? I mean, you yourself were the victim kind of the Republican Party, at least on Capitol Hill, being fractured in the House. I mean, what does that look like going into the next 4 months?
Oh, we're much more united. I mean, think about that. That was all the Democrats and 8 Republicans. One who's not coming back, and then the other part that you have, and the other part you have is one person who raised the issue. He's got an ethics complaint about sleeping with a 17-year-old. So that's the way they would go. So that's the biggest challenge we have.
Fannie Willis, the chief prosecutor from Fulton County, Georgia, who was going after Donald Trump and others. Talk about a narcissist. This woman was having an affair with a prosecutor that she herself appointed, thought that she could get away with it, and basically created her own demise for her case, because upon that news breaking and the lawyers on the defense side just eviscerating her on this, to the point where they're still dealing with this at the appellate level in Georgia, to be that arrogant and audacious to think that you could get away with something like that while prosecuting a former president of the United States in an unprecedented fashion, that's the height of narcissism.
Listen, Big Fannie Willis barged into that courtroom wearing her dress on backwards.
Yes.
Made a scene, a spectacle.
Asked the court that the that the court allow Ms. Willis to be called and interrogated on these matters.
And I would too, Your Honor.
So, the position of the district attorney at this point is that she's no longer contesting the subpoena. Ms. Merchant has called her as the next witness.
And then said, black people keep cash in their house because that's the way they were raised. And she's doesn't drink wine. She drinks Grey Goose. Like, who the fuck cares, man? She's a narcissist. She's a pig. And hopefully she winds up locked up after all this is said and done.
You know, my favorite part about that whole thing with the keeping the money in the house, her father was brought in to testify to try to confirm that that's how she was raised. And the father ended up testifying, and he was a former lawyer. I think he was a retired lawyer. He ended up testifying that, yeah, I was prepped along with my daughter about what I was going to be testifying about. Basically saying, yeah, all of this was rehearsed, and all these statements that I'm giving you right now, we talked about me saying this on the stand.
Yeah. Gene, and she also entered the courtroom at the exact right moment when she stormed in, because she was watching it on television when she was ordered not to do that. Clearly she was watching it on TV.
And just the way that she was answering Ashley Merchant the whole time, under cross-examination.
Got to the point where Ms. Willis should be treated also in this situation.
I think we have.
I very much want to be here, so I'm not a hostile witness. I very much want to be
Not
here.
so much that you're hostile, Ms. Willis, it'd be an adverse witness. Your interests are opposed to Ms. Merchant's.
Ms. Merchant's interests are contrary to democracy, Your Honor, not to mine.
After that, isn't it true?
No, I need to explain this, and I think I get to explain my answers.
So after that, you started dating shortly thereafter, correct?
It's a lie. That's one of your lies.
Okay. Visit you at a place that you resided.
Okay. I don't understand. You're going to give me guidance. In 2020, I lived in South Fulton.
Okay.
That's the only place I lived in South Fulton. That's before I had to abandon my home, Judge.
All right.
And at my home in South Fulton, he never came there, okay? So if you don't come someplace, you can't live there.
Ms. Willis, I'm going to have to caution you. This is going to be the first time I have to caution you. We have to listen to the questions as asked. And if this happens again and again, I'm going to have no choice but to strike your testimony.
But is there a more narcissistic person out there that would have something in common with her? I think so, and I think that's Tish James. I think she's also a nominee. I'm just throwing this out there as a throwaway nominee as well. They're very similar.
Very similar. Tish James also, like when she speaks like she's like standing on the Temple Mount. Like she puts on this fake accent and tries to sound smarter than she really is. She loves, another big woman, loves to be on TV in front of people bashing Trump. Like, total narcissist. Both also unqualified for her job.
Basically, a stupid, insecure, self-serving narcissist douchebag.
I gotta play this from earlier, I think it was last month actually. You remember when Tish James went on TV right after the election and saying how she was still going to go after Trump and all that? Did you ever see the response that one of Trump's lawyers gave to her on Benny Johnson's show?
Oh, was this Mike Davis?
You nailed it on the head here.
Yes.
Here it is. This is how you deal with a narcissist, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between. Check this out.
We did not expect this result, but we are prepared to respond to this result.
Dude, are you still on this?
Because as the Attorney General of this great state, it is my job to protect and defend the rights of New Yorkers and the rule of law.
You are on a total power trip.
And I will not shrink from that responsibility.
Blah, 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 blah.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term. Because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time. And we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. And I promise you that. So think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
Ain't that the truth, pal?
We will put your fat ass in jail. Gene, did you hear the fake accent that she uses? Like, do you believe she speaks that way generally?
She was very mournful and sad.
Come on.
But defiant.
Very narcissistic. Like,
putting on
trying
air.
to sound, like, give yourself some gravitas. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, there's another part. I gotta pull the book out again because you just reminded me of something that is another part of being a narcissist. I gotta find that Mayo Clinic comparison again. Give me 1 second here. People with narcissistic personality disorder may be generally unhappy and disappointed when they're not given the special favors or admiration which they believe they deserve. They may find their relationships unfulfilling, and others may not enjoy being around them. Sound like every Democrat you've ever heard mourning the election results?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Miserable people, and in general, they are miserable people. They're
But also the entitlement, pal. The entitlement of these people that they should win. They have the educational superiority, the moral superiority. They have the high ground.
They're smarter than everyone else.
Yes.
They hang out with celebrities. They're better looking than everyone else. They're cooler than everyone else. They're total narcissists, all of them.
Let's go to another Republican. I'm all for bashing Republicans. We've been doing it on the show. Nikki Haley. I think she's sort of a narcissist herself, especially when she hung around the race a little too long for everyone's liking.
Very narcissistic, very sexist. She was thrown, the two go hand in hand in this respect. Always tossing around that, whether you pick me or not, there's going to be a woman president because it'll be either be me or Kamala Harris.
He's going to be in court for the rest of the year. We can't be distracted. But more of that, that's why I continue to say if Donald Trump is the nominee, he can't win. He won't win a general election.
Sure. But I'll tell you what, you make that case, but at the same time, he's actually gone up in the ratings. He's gone up 12 points from September. I know that you and he are going to square off this Saturday there in South Carolina. He's way ahead. I heard you say yesterday as well, Governor, that you think that the winner of 2024 will be a woman, either you or Kamala Harris, right?
It's just a fact. We've had several hundred people at all of our rallies. South Carolina's fired up. We're excited. We're ready to have our voices heard. But more than that, yes, there will be a female president of the United States. It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris.
Like, okay, bitch, neither one of you are going to win this election, right?
Yeah, how'd that work out, by the way? How'd that work out?
Right? Neither one of them were going to win that thing. And like you said, she hung around way too long. She worked for President Trump. She did some gymnastics of her own to try and then say Donald Trump was crazy and he should not be president. And then when she got blown out in every state after she stood way too long, now she was sucking up to Trump, trying to get a job back on the administration. And he rightfully and righteously put her in her place with a tweet saying that she will not be invited to join his administration. Thank God.
Yeah. I love that she's left out in the cold here. That I can't believe that she tried to come crawling back and try to develop a role in the campaign. The audacity.
She was on the last few days of the campaign on Fox News bashing the Trump campaign for basically saying what Mark Cuban said, that he doesn't surround himself with smart, intelligent women. I'm willing to go out there on the campaign trail. Nikki Haley, no one thinks you're smart. Like, stop it. She lost her home state of which she was a governor. She got blown out in South Carolina.
Yeah. You mentioned Mark Cuban. He's not on our list, but
definitely
now to think about it.
There's just too many. There's too many.
The narcissism of going out there being a staunch supporter of Kamala Harris and then deleting your tweets.
You didn't see anything.
Yeah, Gene. And then the lack of self-awareness or just general intelligence to have the nerve to say, oh, I routinely go back and delete old tweets. Who does that? Who does that? And he didn't just randomly delete old tweets or delete all of them. He deleted specific ones tying him to Kamala Harris.
Yeah, he was picking and choosing, right?
To save whatever reputation he thinks he has in his head. Another person that I don't know of anyone who thinks Mark Cuban is particularly intelligent. Right? Who does?
I mean, listen, he's gotten to where he is in life and made a ton of money, and he either got good advice from people or he was smart enough to manage it himself, right? So I have no problem calling him smart.
He might have business sense, but he shouldn't be running anything or picking who the next president is.
Last one I do want to bring up, and this is another comical one. I wish I had clips for this one. All those damn pollsters out there, specifically Alan Lichtman and his bullshit keys, and Ann Selzer, who said that Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa by 3 points. Are you... The audacity of Alan Lichtman going on TV afterwards and saying, it's everybody else's fault but me. My keys assume that people will act rationally, and there was all this disinformation and misinformation out there that it just... I couldn't operate this way.
Gene, like Ann Selzer, like with these categories for like a one-hit wonder, if they made a splash in the news for a very brief amount of time, I normally don't give it much weight in these competitions. So Selzer, yeah, she blundered with that Iowa poll big time, and she basically quit polling after that. So she kind of did the right thing at the end of the day. But Lichtman, I know we did a whole show on this one. But for those of you guys who aren't familiar with it, you got to look this up. Like the guy was on Piers Morgan with Cenk from the Young Turks.
We played it on This Week in Dumb Magazine, absolutely.
And this one line to me qualifies him to be in the semifinals of this competition when he accused Cenk of blasphemy for calling out his buffoonish 13 key system, right? Like that was so over the top and narcissistic. Even Cenk was like, who do you think you are? Jesus Christ. Like, what? So yeah, that was so over the top, Gene, that he earned his spot in this competition more so than Selzer.
I mean, we're talking about Narcissist, right?
You don't get any more narcissistic than
blaspheming against you.
He blasphemed them for questioning these 13 keys that were wrong.
If you
and then Lichtman had the nerve to say the keys were wrong because the electorate was uninformed and fell into the trap of misinformation, basically just calling all of us dumb. Like, that's how narcissistic this guy is. He's smarter than all of us.
Oh, remember when he said to Uygur on that same show how I've been a professor for 50 years. I've written 31 books. You're going to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm going to tell you know what you're talking about because you shit the bed.
Gene, and then he said, I went on your profile and I read some of the comments and everyone thinks you're an idiot. Like, how old is this man? Go on anyone's Twitter or Facebook. If you're a public person, you're always going to get bashed on there. What kind of evidence is that? This guy's a professor, and that was the sources he was citing, comments on a Twitter post?
It's almost comical. It's a caricature.
Of a caricature.
How many people... You know what? I'm going to see if I can find the clip here. Give me a second.
A few moments later.
Oh, actually, you know what? I think it just loaded up. Something just loaded up. Let me see if this goes in.
Secondly, why did my keys miss? Because my keys are based upon the proposition that a pragmatic, rational electorate decides whether or not the White House party is governed well enough to get 4 more years. That was exploded this time by a new wave of disinformation that we've never seen before, in addition to the usual sources of disinformation. We had a huge change this time, a 300 billionaire, a guy who's richer than most countries of the world, who controls X, spreading vast disinformation. According to reports, billions upon billions of viewers saw his disinformation. People have a completely distorted view of the economy.
What was the disinformation?
Inflation is going up.
Let me pin you down on that, though. You say Elon Musk was spreading disinformation. Like what?
Yes. He is spreading vast disinformation that's sunk in. Even people who think their own financial situation is pretty good think inflation is going up when it's been cut by 75%, that unemployment
but it's still
is
inflation.
a near high when
it's
it's
still inflation,
near
Professor.
a low.
On that point, see, that's interesting. You would say that's disinformation, but the point is that inflation is still not zero. Therefore, prices are still going.
Yeah, and it rambles on and on from there. I'm still looking for the Cenk Uygur clip here, but I know I have it here somewhere. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm not wrong. It's all you fuckers out there. It's the Principal Skinner clip of
I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
Yeah, and for him, it was like an unforced error because, I mean, we went through the keys in detail in a previous show.
Yeah, we did.
But most people have no idea what that was. Like a few political insiders and junkies, knew about the 13 keys. But he could have just like sailed off into the sunset, and it would have been no harm done to him really, because nobody really knows who the hell he is. But he insisted on coming on various shows, culminating with that debacle on Piers Morgan, which will go down not as necessarily a footnote, because I have a feeling that's going to be like played in the future for like buffoonery, not just by us, but by other people, because it was so bad.
It'll go down as an epithet on his political gravestone.
His 50-plus year career boils down to that segment.
That's what people will remember.
Yes.
This segment right here.
I think, look, we could get into this discussion, but one, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. And look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
couldn't
not
find
right,
them
and
before
I
the
was
election.
not wrong, and that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
Who
taking
won?
cheap
Who
shots
won?
at me.
Who
You
won?
want to make your
You
point,
live
make your
in a
point.
total
Don't make it
world of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me. So
Yeah,
quiet with your personal attacks.
Yeah, come find out again.
Make whatever
Okay.
point you want.
Yeah.
Don't
Look,
make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know
You
anything.
attacked me
You
personally.
You're so deluded.
Oh, right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program,
published
I've never been
13
able
books.
to finish a
How
thought.
many books have you published? No, because you're personally attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to stand for
brother,
personal
you got
attacks.
it wrong.
Say
you were
whatever you want.
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just
Don't
finish
call
a
me
goddamn thought
stupid.
ever on this show?
No, not if you're
Okay,
personally
well,
I
you proved
admitted
it.
I was wrong. I don't need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
Can I just say, it's great to see you Democrats all getting along
Who taught
so
you
well.
manners?
It's lovely to
You
see
need
a
one. Can I
post-election
finish a
harmony as you all
goddamn
come
point?
together again.
We're just one right now. Hey, Alan, you deserve a tall glass of shut-up juice, so can you just shut up for a second? And let someone who knows what
Not
they're doing
if you're
talk,
gonna personally
okay?
attack me.
Make any
point you want. I will not sit here and stand for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me. You don't need to do that. You don't boost your
Blasphemy
own ego
against you?
by
Who the hell are
attacking
you?
me
Are you
like that.
Jesus
Just
Christ,
make your
you
points.
loser?
And just to add real quick to the narcissistic tendencies there, Gene, the man, Alan Lichtman, is 77 years old. Look at that head of hair.
Stop.
Right? He's clearly wearing a piece. Like, it's completely narcissistic, man. Age gracefully. Just get old. Don't do that.
I agree with you. But you see what happens when a narcissist is cornered? That's what happens. The narcissist basically has no other alternative but to fight back that way because they cannot shatter their own self-image. And for it to happen on national television, that's the ultimate for them.
Right? The ego on that guy. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was on full display for absolutely everyone.